Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namami buddham gunasagaram tam satta sada hontu sukhi avera kayo jiguncho sakalo dugandho gachanti Sambe maranam nahanca Samanta cakkavalesu atra gachantu devata Saddammang munirajassa sunantu sagga mokkadam Dhammasavana kālo ayam badanta Dhammasavana kālo ayam badanta Dhammasavana kālo ayam badanta Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Bhara pancakkanda bharaharoca punggalo Bhara danang sukhang loke bharanikke panang sukhang. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, today we are going to discuss Buddhist doctrines. Actually, every day we discuss what Buddha taught, because Buddha explained very clearly at the very beginning, we should have clear understanding what we practice, where we are going to. Knowledge is very important. One day Buddha says, I proclaim the liberation for the people who know the path, who see the path. Knowledge is very important. When we start something, first of all, we should have clear comprehension what we practice, where we are going to. In that way, first of all, Buddha says, we should listen to what he says. Buddha explained the world reality as it is. Even though Buddha explained this message, actually this message doesn't belong to even Buddha. This is a discovery. There are two things in the world. One of them is creations. The other thing is discoveries. Creations and discoveries. What are the discoveries in this world?
Gravity by atomy.
Yes, we can say we discover some planets, some galaxies, and oil, water, jewelries, gems. Those are the things which are discoveries. We can create water, jewelries, gems, we can create. These are things like buildings, clothes, these are creations. Buddhism is not a creation, it is a discovery. Buddha says, whether a Buddha appeared or not in the world, this reality is forever. We respect Buddha because he realized this message by himself. That is why we say his message as Buddhism. But Buddha says, this message doesn't belong to even the Buddha. Whether Buddha appears or not in the world, this reality is forever. Buddha realized and discovered what is the nature of our life. Our entire life, the entire world is experienced by our senses. And when we can realize, when we can understand our life, mind and body, then we can realize, we can understand all over the world. Because we experience through our six senses. As much as we can understand our life, mind and body, we are able to understand the entire world. And also, if we can understand the reality in our life, then we can overcome suffering too. Especially Buddha says, he explains only two things. One of them is the suffering, the other thing is the cessation of suffering. In his entire life, for 45 years, he has explained only this suffering and the cessation of suffering. According to audience, he has used a lot of techniques, a lot of methods. But when we go to the summary, in the bottom level, Buddha has explained only this suffering and the cessation of suffering. Little by little, when we go forward with the understanding of what Buddha taught, we realize what is the nature of our mind. Especially, everyone likes happiness. We do everything in the name of happiness. But unfortunately, day by day, we go away from happiness. The reason is, we mostly trust in outside material things and persons. When they change, we get upset. We trust in outside people and things. When they are not like we like, then when they change, we get upset. We suffer. In this situation, if we can understand the reality of the world, and we can train our mind according to the world reality. In this situation, happiness, we should understand the nature of happiness. How we lose our happiness? Why suffering goes away? When our mind is polluted with negative thoughts, especially there are three unwholesome thoughts disturb our peace of mind. What they are? Yes, one of them is anger or hatred. Anger is one of the reasons that we suffer. The other one is craving or greed. The second one is craving. And there are some other negative emotions like, conceit, jealousy. Those are other negative emotions. But all of them can be included into two things. But again, there is a special unwholesome emotions that arises in our mind. The main root of all defilements. What is that? Yes, ignorance. Ignorance is the main reason why we suffer. Buddha has explained the nature of these three things. Anger. Anger is not difficult to overcome, but results are dangerous. Craving, greed or lust is difficult to overcome. Craving is difficult to overcome, but results are not dangerous. How about delusion or ignorance? Ignorance is difficult to overcome, and also results are more dangerous. How about anger? Anger is not difficult to overcome, but results are dangerous. Craving? attachment or lustful desire, it is difficult to overcome. But results are not dangerous. How about ignorance or delusion? Delusion is difficult to overcome, and also it is more dangerous. Results are more dangerous. And our happiness completely depends on how far we have overcome these negative thoughts from our mind. This is our success. If we can overcome, take your time. If we can overcome these negative thoughts from our mind day by day, actually this is the real success in our life. All Buddhist doctrines focus on how we overcome these negative thoughts. There are a lot of techniques in Buddhism. Among them, in primary level, we use some kind of primary level method that how to overcome these negative thoughts. Especially, the Buddhist path starts with practicing generosity. Generosity is one of the primary qualities that we should practice on the path of liberation. If we are not generous, actually we can't listen to what Buddha taught. You are generous, that is why you are here. If you are so greedy, you never listen to Buddha's message or any other message. Because of our generosity, we are able to listen to this message. You have dedicated your time, your money, at least your gas, you have dedicated when you come here. That is why you have this chance to listen to. And practicing generosity is very important on the path of liberation. The second one is practicing loving kindness, because mostly we suffer because of anger or hatred. In the discourse of Karaniya Metta, Buddha says, he who wishes to attain liberation has to practice loving kindness. If you don't practice loving kindness, it means you are not on the path of liberation. Because we mostly suffer, mostly our mind is polluted because of anger or hatred or ill will. If we can little by little overcome anger, it means we are little by little overcome suffering. In this situation, Buddha advises us to practice generosity and loving kindness. Then our mind is so calm and quiet. But it is not the real solution. We should go forward little by little. The reason is, Buddha has explained that the conventional truth and ultimate truth. When we listen to Buddha's message, we should be intelligent to understand these both ways. One of them is conventional truth. Buddha explains, one of truth is that the conventional truth, Sammuti Satya. The conventional truth. This is the first truth that Buddha has explained. Buddha says, heavenly path and deliverance path. In the heavenly path, Buddha has introduced the conventional truth. What is the nature of the conventional truth? In the world, everything is prepared with the understanding of the conventional truth. It means, when we experience something, before we experience something, it is here. After we experience, everything remains. That is true, but only in the conventional truth. Before you came here, this place was here. After you leave here, the place remains. That is true. But it is not true when we go to the ultimate truth. In the world, all regulations, duties, rules depend on the conventional truth. Even the karmic law, the nature of the karmic law also depends on the conventional truth. In this situation, we can overcome anger and craving. We can make a very calm mind in this situation. But we can completely overcome suffering until we overcome this situation. But suddenly we can go to the highest level, the ultimate truth. First of all, we should control our negative thoughts by practicing some primary level meditation techniques and some qualities in our day-to-day life. But however, we should understand the second level, that is also very important. And what is the second truth that Buddha has explained? The ultimate truth, this is the Sammuti Satya. Conventional truth is the Sammuti Satya. Ultimate truth is the Avasana Satya, Paramatta Satya. According to Buddha's language, Pali language, Paramatta Satya. Sammuti Satya and Paramatta Satya. Paramartha Satya means the ultimate truth, that really what happens to our life.
The world arises when our eyes open.
Yes, the world arises when we open our senses. When we open our eyes, immediately forms, consciousness, mental formations, all other things are together at the same time. When we hear something, all things are together. When we listen to this sound, the sound is here, our ears are here, our consciousness, mental formations, all are together at the same time. The other thing is that we have 6 senses, like ear, nose, ears, body, tongue, and mind. These are the senses that we have. In one time, only one sense acts. Only one sense is alive at once, the other 5 are not alive when we have experience through one sense. But because these 6 senses are very fast, we may think that all of them are together. But at one time, only one sense are alive. And also, before we experience, for example, before you listening this sound, it was not here. After you experience, this sound doesn't remain here. When we look at this picture, before you saw this picture, it was not here according to ultimate truth. The experience and form arise at the moment. When we open our eyes, even though we open our eyes, if we don't have our consciousness, we have no experience. In this moment, a lot of vehicles go here and there. But you have no your attention, consciousness. Therefore, you can't identify, you can recognize them. But if you pay your attention to those sounds, then you can recognize this is a motorcycle, this is a car, this is a truck, this is a fire truck. You can understand if you pay your attention, consciousness to that experience. But now, you are paying your attention to me. That is why you are listening only my sound. And this, when we are going to the ultimate truth, our experience, every moment our experience arises and immediately it ceases. But there is a thin who never believes this, who never believes it. Who is that? Who is that? The ignorance or delusion doesn't believe it. Why is that? For a long time in our samsaric journey, we have practiced ignorance. By listening to Buddha's message, we are going to opposite side of ignorance or delusion. What is the opposite of ignorance or delusion? Wisdom. Wisdom is the opposite of ignorance. We are going to wisdom. We are going finding the wisdom. Buddha has explained there are 4 reasons that help us to develop our wisdom. There are 4 reasons, 4 causes which help us to develop our wisdom. What they are?
Having good friends.
Yes, associating good friends, listening to Dhamma, reflecting to according to what we are listening to, and practice. Associating good friends, listening to Dhamma, reflecting on it, and practice. Associating good friends means who explain this real message. Sometimes it may be a person, living person. Sometimes in the current technology, it may be a website or CD or flash drive. However, we should be intelligent to find the spiritual friend, noble friend, good association. That is very important. From the beginning to end, on the path of liberation, day by day, we should go forward with these 4 kind of helping persons and reasons. And associating good friends, not only associating good friends, we should be intelligent to listening to what they say. For that, we should be intelligent. We should have an ability to recognize whether they are intelligent. If we are not intelligent, even though we meet some good persons, we can't recognize them. That is why, at the very beginning, on the path of liberation, we also should have some kind of intelligence. Then we can recognize, we can understand who we associate. And not only listening to, but according to what we are listening, we should reflect on it again and again in our day-to-day life. From morning to night. According to this message, we have to reflect on it again and again. Impermanence, Four Noble Truths, Dependent Origination, Eightfold Path, 3 characteristics. Again and again we have to reflect on it. Then this knowledge is going to be permanent. But if we think this reality only few minutes in a day, actually our final destination is very far, very far. If we want to reach the destination fast, we should reflect on it again and again in our day-to-day life. And also associating good friends, listening to Dhamma, reflecting on it, and practice. What is practice? What we should practice? Yes, there are a lot of words in Buddhism we can say. All of them can be included into one. What is that?
Mindfulness.
Yes, mindfulness. Buddha says, I explain only one thing to liberate. Mindfulness is the only way to liberation. Practicing mindfulness is the only way to achieve enlightenment. Mindfulness is the only way to attain wisdom. Mindfulness is the only way to overcome suffering. Practicing mindfulness is the only way to liberation. But that mindfulness is a very wide one. We have to listen to a lot of things to understand mindfulness. You know, when we see the society, when we see some meditation class, a lot of people explain mindfulness. It is very easy that they say that keep your mind in the present moment, forget your past, forget your future, keep your mind in the present moment. That is the mindfulness. Actually, that is not the real mindfulness in Buddhism. You know, we can see some babies, some little children. There are some animals. They also keep their mind in the present moment. They don't think their past or future. They are living in the present moment. But even though they are living in the present moment, they are not away from ignorance. They are not away from delusion. The main purpose of all Buddhist doctrine is to overcome ignorance. Not only to overcome anger and delusion, anger and craving. The main reason why we suffer is ignorance. What is the ignorance? Not seeing the impermanence. What is that? Can you explain it?
Arising and ceasing with the conditions of our life.
Yes. Actually, when we experience something, we think that experience was here before I see it. For example, when you go to the street, if you see a vehicle, you may think that before I saw that vehicle, it was here. After I go away, it remains here. And also when somebody blames you, you may think that before that person blamed me, he was here. After he blamed me, he will be here. It is true, but only in the conventional truth. When we go to the upper level, the ultimate truth, the experience that I receive through our senses arises at the moment. Before that experience, it was not here. And we usually get the same example when we go to the mirror. When we want to see our reflection, we go to the mirror. Before we go to the mirror, our reflection was not there. After we leave the mirror, our reflection in the mirror doesn't remain here. Our reflection on the mirror arises as soon as we go to the mirror. When we leave mirror, our reflection doesn't remain there. Our whole experience also like that. But our delusion doesn't accept it, doesn't believe it. That is why suffering arises. When you see someone who has a very good complexion, then he or she may give you his or her address or email address. When you call or when you contact with that person, you may think that I contact the person who I met at that time. If you saw that person was wearing a very beautiful cloth, when you contact that person, you may think that still that person is wearing that the same cloth. But sometimes that person is having a shower at the restroom at the moment. When you saw that person was laughing with you. When you remember that person may be shouting or blaming to someone at that moment. But still, because of our ignorance, we think that still that person is the same situation. On the other side, if somebody has blamed you, as soon as you remember that person, as soon as you see that person, your memory goes to the past. Immediately your mind goes to past and your mind is fixed in the past experience. That is why anger arises. Sometimes that person has forgotten everything, but still you are thinking that person is blaming you. Someone can blame you once if you are ignorant. If you are not mindful, you are blamed again and again by yourself. Why should we give a chance to be blamed? Actually, we are intelligent. We are well educated. Why we suffer? If we are clever to overcome this ignorance, then we are able to overcome suffering. All Buddhist doctrines focus on this situation. If we understand this message, we are the place that we are confident. This is the place we should trust in. If we can understand this is the place where suffering arises, then we are confident in Buddha's enlightenment. If we see this reality at that moment, we are confident in Buddha's message. If we have clear understanding the path of liberation at the moment, we are confident in Buddha's noble disciples. That is why we say, I go to the Buddha for refuge. It doesn't mean that Buddha gives you a protection or refuge. We believe Buddha's enlightenment, Buddha's understanding. That is why we say, Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi. I go to the Buddha for refuge. It doesn't mean that we should worship Buddha. We trust in Buddha's this enlightenment, understanding, comprehension, wisdom. That is why Buddha say, I go to the Buddha for refuge. This is the message Buddha has explained to overcome suffering. We go to the refuge for Dhamma, for this understanding. That is why we say, Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi. I go to the Dhamma for refuge. We get a refuge throughout listening to Dhamma and practicing Dhamma. And also when we say Sangham saranam gacchāmi, I go to the Sangha for refuge, it means we have a confidence in Buddha's noble disciples. When we remember those people, our courage, energy, dedication increases. That is why we say, Sangham saranam gacchāmi, I go to the Sangha for refuge. And this is the place where we should be trust in. What is that? Whenever we are ignorant, whenever we think, when we experience something, if we think this experience was here before I experienced, that is the ignorance or delusion. On the other side, we can explain it in various ways. On the other side, we can see in outside only 4 elements. Earth element, water element, fire element, and wind element. These are 4 elements that we can see in outside. When we see a picture, when we see a person, when we see something like flower, everything is made in these 4 things. We create some persons and names according to our mental conditions. When we see this person, I think this is my friend. When your mother or dad see you, they may say that this is my son. When your siblings see you, they may say that this is my brother. When you meet your classmates, they may say that this is our friend. But in the outside, there are only 4 elements. According to their mental condition, according to their ignorance, according to their attachment, they make some persons or some names. And also they may think that if you have done good activities for them, they may be happy. But if you have done some bad deeds, they may get angry. But those activities that you have done, good or bad, doesn't belong to you. If it is same, everybody should be happy. For example, when I see you, I am neutral. When somebody sees you, whom you have blamed, then he may get upset. When somebody whom you have helped, then he is happy when he sees you. If you are the same person, if those qualities are inside in your life, everybody should be same. Everybody should have the same mental conditions. But they create their emotions, their consciousness, according to their mental situation. But outside, it is only the same thing. If we can understand this reality, actually little by little we can overcome suffering. And when we do this sound, when we make this sound arises because of these fingers and because of my ears and consciousness. But this sound doesn't belong to these fingers. How about when somebody blames you? Then you may think that this person blamed me. This sound belongs to this person. Therefore, I will see you later because you blamed me. That is why suffering arises. If we can understand this reality, we don't think, even though that because of that person the sound arises, but that sound doesn't belong to that person. When we go to the mirror, because of the mirror we can see our reflection, but our reflection, our physical body doesn't belong to the mirror. On the other side, our physical body even doesn't belong to our body. This reflection arises at the moment with several conditions. With light, mirror, my physical body, my consciousness, all things are together. When all things gather together, I experience something. But that experience doesn't belong to anything. This is the reality. As soon as we see something, as soon as we remember some experience that happened in the past or future, as soon as we hear something, as soon as we taste something, as soon as we smell something, if we have this understanding with mindfulness, this is the only way to overcome suffering. We usually think that if we earn a lot of money, if we have a lot of friends, if my monthly salary is very high, then I can be happy. We may think that. Those are not the reasons that happiness brings me. Happiness, or liberation, or getting rid of suffering completely depends on this understanding, wisdom. First of all, we should understand how suffering arises. And also then we know how we overcome suffering. Then we should understand the burden, heavy load, weight. This is the topic that we are going to discuss. Bhara Sutta. Bhara means burden, weight or heavy load. Buddha says, Bhara have panchakkhandha bharharocha puggalo. Bhara danam dukhang loke bhara nikke panansukam. This is a very important discourse that we can understand our life. Bhara Sutta. Bhara Sutta comes in Samyutta Nikaya, in Khanda Samyutta. Here Buddha says 4 things. Bhara, Bharahara, Bharadana, Bharanikkepana. First, Buddha says Bhara. Then Bharahara. Bharahara. Next one, Bharadana. Bharadana. The 4th one, Bharanikkepana. Bharanikkepana. If you can understand these 4 things, you are so fortunate. What is the Bhara? Bhara means Bhara have panchakkhandho. Whatever we experience through our 6 senses, it means 5 things arise together. What are those things? 5 things. Yes, rupa or matter. And Vedana means feeling. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, perception. And Sankhara, mental formations or volitional formations. Mental formation. And 5th one, Vijnana, consciousness. These 5 things cannot be divided. We should recognize these 5 things by wisdom. You know, when you drink a coffee or tea, you can separate water, sugar, tea, coffee. You can't separate. How do you recognize the things which are included in the tea? You can separate outside. When you drink coffee or tea, if you are intelligent, if you have seen how coffee is prepared, then you can recognize this is very hot, sugar is very few, coffee is a lot, water is very few. You can understand by wisdom. These 5 things are also like that. Whatever we experience through our eyes, through our ears, through our nose, it means these 5 things immediately arise. What is the matter? Matter means not only these things. This is also one of the matters. This sound also a matter, according to Buddhism. If you smell something, that good smell also a matter. If you eat something, if you taste something, that is also a matter. If you touch something, that also a matter. If you think something which happened in the past or future, it has also a kind of matters which related to mind. Whatever you experience at that moment, matter is there. Not only matter, even though there is matter, you can recognize without feelings, without perception, without mental formation, without consciousness. And feeling means not only pains, but good or bad feelings. When you look at these flowers, you are happy. It is a good feeling. When you see something who has blamed you, then it is painful feelings, unpleasant feelings. If you see someone never you have seen, that you are neutral. It is neutral feelings. Feelings especially can be divided into 6. again 3, 4, 5, and finally it can be divided into 108. There are a lot of separations, variations in feelings. And however, perception means according to our six senses, we have perceptions. We recognize something. This is a flower, this is a person, this is a paper, this is a chair. We recognize according to our perception. And mental formations means we create emotions. When we look at you, I think you are a good person, you are born in England, your parents were from Sri Lanka, you are doing your doctorate, I create my mental formations. Not only perceptions, according to perceptions, we create new thoughts. That is mental formations. It is the karma, this is the karma. And consciousness means we recognize. It is very close to perception. And consciousness means the vijnana or mind. Those five things are together, it is very difficult to divide. Whatever you experience, wherever your senses are fixed, it means these five things are there. The interesting thing is, these five things were not here before you experience something. Every moment, these five things arise and cease. If you think your son, when you left your home, if you saw your children were reading, now you are happy. My children are so good there. They were reading when I left home. Immediately you may think that yesterday they did a bad thing. Then you get upset. Yesterday they did bad deeds. I was worried. And then you receive a message that they have some problems or some disease. Then you are compassionate immediately. Actually, this mental condition is not certain. Every moment it changes. But our ignorance doesn't believe it. We think that our experience are same for a long time, but it is not permanent. It is not in some place in our mind. According to mental situation, it arises and ceases. But if somebody thinks that these five things are permanent, and also if somebody thinks that these five things arise in outside, according to external conditions, that is also ignorance. These five things that we create according to our mental conditions, according to our ignorance. When I see you, I am neutral. When somebody sees you, he may get upset. When somebody sees you, he may be happy. But happiness or suffering doesn't arise outside. Happiness or suffering we create in our mind, according to our mental conditions. If somebody doesn't have this understanding, these five aggregates arise. Not only understanding, when we experience something, our mind is fixed in outside. Then we are struggling. When we go to the mirror, we don't struggle with the reflection in the mirror. But when some pets go to the mirror, they are struggling with the reflection on the mirror because of ignorance. They may think that there is another person there. We are also like that. We are not ignorant in front of the mirror, but we are ignorant all everywhere. If we have ignorance, then five aggregates arise. It means that is the burden, heavy load. Not only we are awakening, but even we are in sleeping. When we see dreams, then these files open. That is the nature of our life. This is the Bhara, this is the burden, this is the heavy weight load. Buddha says, Bhara, second one is the carrier who bring this one. The second one, Bhara Hara. Bhara Hara. Bhara Hara means the carrier of the burden. If we have ignorance, we are carrying this heavy weight. The persons who blamed us, the persons who helped us, everything we are carrying. It doesn't mean that we should forget these things. Buddhism never says to forget these things. But the fault is, when we remember those past experiences, if our mind is fixed in the past experience, that is the fault. That is the cause of suffering. Memory is not the fault. When we practice mindfulness, our memory gradually increases. Even Arantas, even the Buddha has explained his past experience, past lives. He has explained his more than 500 previous lives. But he did it with mindfulness. But when we remember someone who has passed away, we cry. When you have a news that someone has passed away just now, immediately you may cry. What is the reason? Your memory goes to past and your mind goes to past and your mind is fixed in the past experience. Sometimes that person has passed away and he was born in the heavenly realm, in a palace. But your mind is in the past with ignorance. That is why you are crying. And the person who carries this heavy load, burden, is the Bhara Hara. We should not be Bhara Hara, the carriers of burden. Buddha has explained his message, go away from the Bhara Hara and Bhara. And the third one, Bhara Dana. Bhara Dana means the taking up of the burden, that craving. The taking up of the burden. If we catch something as greed or craving, that is the Bharadana. If we are ignorant in this situation, our mind immediately goes to past. Our mind is ignorant. Then lustful desire arises. If we have not this understanding, it is not difficult to overcome craving. The innocent pet is ignorant that there is another person there. That is why it barks. Until he go away from this misunderstanding, he barks. If we don't know the reality of the world, that is why we catch some things and people. It doesn't mean that we should give up everything. Actually, we have to fulfill our day-to-day life, activities and duties. It is not bad. The thing is, while we are fulfilling our duties, if we are intelligent, we can fulfill our duties without craving, without lust. For example, when you go to the mirror, even though your reflection is very beautiful, you never keep your hand there. Even though it is so beautiful, you never touch your hand to the mirror. The reason is, what is the reason? You know very well, the reason of the good complexion is here. When you see these flowers, you can see it, you can smell it. You can keep your hand, it doesn't matter. But you know very well, when you keep your hand here, you can't touch the flowers. You keep your hand in the 4 elements. Flower is inside. Outside, there is only 4 elements. Son or mom or daughter or inside. Mom or inside. Our friend is inside. When I put my hand on your body, here is 4 elements. Sons, daughters, parents are not in outside. They are inside. We create persons, names, things inside. But outside there is only 4 elements. If we have this understanding, we can communicate with people, it doesn't matter. We communicate with everyone or everything without craving because of this understanding. If you are sick, I can help you. I am so compassionate. I am ready to help you. But I can understand what's the reality. Because of this understanding, I never suffer. But I fulfill my duties. Even though reflection arises when you go to the mirror, you never break the mirror. You never give up the mirror. Again and again you go to the mirror. Sometimes you keep a small mirror in your bag too. Even though reality is like this, you go to the mirror again and again to see your reflection. It doesn't matter. After this experience, you can go to your house. You can see your parents. You can see your relatives. You can fulfill your duties for your children. It doesn't matter. But you do everything without craving, without anger, because of no ignorance, because of no delusion. We do everything without craving, anger, jealousy. And also, if we have this understanding, we are so compassionate to give this message to others too. Because people are suffering because of not this understanding. And this one, Bhara dana means the taking up of the burden that is craving. Craving arises because of ignorance. And if we are ignorant here, we are not away from craving. You know, you have seen some innocent ants jump to the lamps of fire. Are they jump into the fire to get suicide? No, they never like to suicide. They jump to the fire finding happiness. They never like to get suicide. They like to live for a long time. But their ignorance invites them to jump to the fire. That is why innocent ants jump to the fire. And if we are ignorant, it is difficult to overcome craving or lustful desire. In some levels we can control by practicing generosity, by practicing meditation like loving kindness. We can control in some kind of levels. But in the bottom level, they are still there. That is why Buddha has explained for the final solution, we have to overcome ignorance and we should achieve wisdom. Bhara Nikkepana means the laying down of the burden, giving up the burden, and the renunciation, liberation. If you have understanding about Bhara, the 5 aggregates, And also if you are knowledgeable about the Bhara, the carrier of the burden, and also if you know the Bhara dana or craving, then you understand these are the sufferings. If you are intelligent, if you are knowledgeable, you don't wait to stay in these levels. You are hurried to overcome this misunderstanding, ignorance or delusion. For that, you have to overcome. You have to lay down of burden. Then we give up this very heavy weight, burden. If we can keep it away, then we are relaxed. We have liberation. Even though you have no anything in your hands, you are lifting a very heavy weight, burden. Your experience that happened in the past, the experience which are going to be in future, you are thinking it again and again as permanent. Then you are lifting a very heavy weight, burden. Even though you relax physically, mentally you are lifting a very heavy weight. For that Buddha says, Bhara Nikkepana, the laying down of the burden. How do we overcome? How do we give up this very heavy weight? By practicing three disciplines, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Sila means discipline in your speech and behavior, and concentration, Samadhi, reflecting your mind in the present moment, keeping your mind in the present moment. You concentrate your mind again and again. With the concentrated mind, you reflect on impermanence, arising and ceasing. As much as you can reflect on impermanence again and again. When you see something, when you hear something, if you are intelligent to understand this experience arises at the moment, it was not here before I experienced, it will not remain after experience. Again and again we reflect on this reality in our entire life. Then gradually, little by little, this heavy weight goes away. And one day, we are like, as soon as we open our senses, we know very well, this experience arises at the moment. We have no any weight. We have no burden. It doesn't mean that, don't misunderstand, we are lazy. Actually, we are more active after this experience before we were. Now, we sleep 5 or 6 hours with this heavy weight. After we take up, after we lay down of this burden, we may sleep only 2 or 1 hours per day. You know, Arahants have slept only 2 hours per day. They are so active than other people. They dedicate their entire life for the people, for the world. In this situation, if we have this understanding, we are so compassionate, we see all over the world like our children, we try to give this understanding to them too. Because until we understand this situation, this reality, we are not away from suffering. If you have this understanding, if you have this liberation, actually we are hurried to give this understanding to other people too. Because all of people in the world, they were our close relatives and friends in our previous lives. We like, they are happy. We never like they are suffering. As much as we have this understanding, we help others to achieve wisdom. Wisdom is the highest goal in our life. And wisdom reduces suffering. Wisdom decreases ignorance. wisdom develops the real happiness. For that, we should be ready to lay down of burden. In this situation, that is very important to understand what Buddha explained, and in this situation, knowledge is very, very important. Knowledge is wealth. What kind of knowledge that we should develop? Knowledge is very important. Knowledge means the map or address where we are going to, what we practice. Buddha says in the discourse of Abhiññā, if you are an intelligent person, the highest education of the intelligent person is understanding of the five aggregates. Five aggregates is the highest education in Buddhism. As much as we are knowledgeable about the five aggregates, we know very well this is the real reason of suffering. We should defeat it. And then we understand the dependent origination. Paටිච්චසමුප්පාda, the heart of Buddhism. Paටිච්චසමුppada means causality or cause and effect. When conditions are together, we experience something. Asmin sati idang hoti. When conditions are here, we experience something. When conditions are not here, we have no experience. This is the nature of the dependent origination. This is the knowledge that we should achieve. And also with the knowledge, we should not stop in the knowledge. According to this understanding, we reflect on it again and again as much as we can. Whenever we reflect on this reality, at that time be sure we have overcome our all sufferings. Even though you have a very dangerous illness in your physical body, even though you are very old, even though you are very close to die, whenever you are reflecting on this reality, you are away from those sufferings. Even though you are sick physically, seriously, whenever you reflect on impermanence, at that moment we are not sick mentally. Actually, illnesses mostly come through our misunderstanding. And we are physically ill a little, but we mentally ill a lot. And also our old age depends on our mental conditions. If we think our age, we are old. When you don't think your age, you are not old. When you think your sickness, which is in your body, then you are sick. While you are suffering from sickness, when you are in a party, when you are laughing with your friends, you are healthy. You don't feel your sicknesses in your body. And it doesn't mean that we should go away from the reality. We face the reality. If we need some medicines, we get it. But mentally we are healthy. While we are taking some medicine physically, we are okay. We are healthy mentally. And also knowledge and reflection. Third one, practice. Practice means there are a lot of doctrines that Buddha has recommended to practice, but all of them can be divided into two, and concentration and wisdom. Again, all of them can be included into mindfulness. Mindfulness means aware of your body and mind. What happens to my mind and body? Every moment my mind and body are together, then experience arises. That experience was not here before I experience. After experience, it doesn't remain. If we are completely on this understanding, we are so fortunate. Nobody can disturb our peace of mind, because we have a real refuge inside. Buddha advises us to get this refuge. Dwell with yourself as an island. No other refuge. Dhamma Deepa Bhikkhave Viharati Dhamma Sarana. Dwell with the Dhamma, with no other refuge. Your real refuge is your mind. Your real refuge is this reality. If we can reflect on this reality, actually nobody can disturb our peace of mind. Even though the entire world is destroyed, we have a balanced mind. Even though we have relatives, friends, actually someday there is a day when they can't help us. When we have some serious illnesses, actually they can't help. Even though our friends are doctors, they can't help us. When we are close to dying, even though we have a lot of children who are well educated, actually they can't help. Even though we use a lot of medicines and some things, we can't control that our body is going to decay. The most important thing in our life is our physical body. Actually, we can't control even our physical body. Day by day it is going to decay, old age. In this situation, but we can control our mind. We can develop our mind. If we can develop our mind, we can control all other things. We can go away from suffering. We can overcome suffering with this understanding. For that, Buddha invites us to practice this message. We should not pay our homage to the Buddha. We usually recite some stanzas when we start the meditation, but we do it for our inner peace. It doesn't need to Buddha. Buddha doesn't need any respect. Buddha says, if you respect me, listening to this message, follow this message and see the results through your life. That is the highest pay if you respect me. And Buddha has dedicated his entire life, not only this life, in his previous lives, billions of previous lives he dedicated for this understanding. And he discovered, realized and proclaimed this message to the world very kindly to overcome suffering. If we can listen to this message, we are so fortunate. Because even scientists, they don't know how to overcome suffering. They know how to earn some money, but they don't know how to overcome suffering. They may think that if they are well educated, if they have good children who are well educated, they can overcome suffering. Actually, in front of sickness, decay, death, they are not away from suffering. This is the only way to overcome suffering. While you are studying, developing your education, while you are earning money, while you are doing your responsibilities for your relatives and friends, while you are doing your jobs, this should be your highest goal. You should give the priority to this understanding, because this is the real refuge in our life. Have you any question? Have you any question to ask?
I don't. I'm very important. I'm very.
Okay. Day by day, actually, we explain and we go to the deeper level. If you come to the class continuously, then you can see a difference. That sometimes you may think that we discuss the same thing, but every day, little by little, we go to the deeper level. Whenever you are listening to this message, at that time, you are meditating. Sometimes we may think that when we are closing our eyes, at that time only that time we are meditating. Actually, Buddha says very clearly, whenever you are listening to this message, at that time also you are meditating. At that time you are developing your mindfulness, wisdom. Whenever you are developing your mindfulness and wisdom is the meditation. Not only closing our eyes, that is only one of the techniques. There are 5 techniques where we can apply this message. Listening to Dhamma, and preaching Dhamma, discussing Dhamma, chanting Dhamma, and meditation. There are 5 techniques, 5 doors through where we can enter for the liberation. Not only sitting meditation. Sitting meditation is one of the techniques of 5. If you have good attention, if you pay your clear attention, good attention when you are listening to Dhamma, real Dhamma, with the understanding of the dependent origination, depending on impermanence, at that time you are meditating. You are developing your mindfulness and wisdom at that time. Because your wisdom increases at that time. Okay, thank you so much for your good attention. I wish you all the best. I encourage you to overcome your suffering before we become the decay or old age. We are so fortunate in this life. Actually, we have received a lot of things in this life. Especially, we are blessed people. We are gifted people. And we have a good chance to listen to and read this message. And we have enough courage, health, and facilities to practice this message. This is the highest way we respect our life. If we can practice this message, actually we respect our life. We take care of our mind from negative thoughts. If we can take care of our mind from negative thoughts, especially if we can go away from the ignorance, actually we are on the field of the Buddha. Whenever we are mindfulness, we are on the field of the Buddha. Whenever we are ignorant, where we are? We are on the land of the Mara or devil, because we are suffering. Little by little, day by day, we should try to increase the time, duration we are in mindfulness. This is the real way that we can overcome suffering. Give the priority to develop your mindfulness. Whenever you are mindfulness, be sure at that moment you are away from illness, decay, and rebirth. Okay, thank you again for your good attention. Now we are going to transfer the merits that we acquired at the moment. Every day after the activity, we usually, as a tradition, it is not just a tradition, it is a very meaningful thing that we do. By practicing these activities, we purify our mind, we develop positive thoughts, we transfer these merits thoughts to our beloved departed relatives. If they are needing merits, may they receive these merits and may they enhance their spiritual energy. May they also attain final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's transfer these merits to our beloved departed relatives to recite in the Gatha. idamme ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo idamme ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo idamme ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. By the power of all these merits, may guardian deities and angels also receive these merits, and may they enhance their psychic energy, spiritual energy. May they also attain final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's transfer these merits to guardian deities and angels too. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devānāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkhantu sāsanam. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devānāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkhantu desanam. Ākāsattā ca bummattā devānāgā mahiddhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkhantu tvaṃ sadā. By the power of all these merits, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no problems come to you. May your all righteous wishes meet with success. Finally, may all of us attain final bliss of liberation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dukkhaṃ pantā ca niddukkhaṃ bhayaṃ pantā ca nidbhayaṃ sokaṃ pantā ca nissokāṃ hontu sabbhe pipānino. Dukin pelena sat dukin midetvā bien pelena sat bienati vetvā sovim tevena sat somnas vetvā nitin mehama sat suvat vetvā.